seconds. Should be all right. We may have jumped boats. We may have boats that have jumped the gun. We'll have to wait and see. 2, possibly 3 boats might have jumped the gun. Into the south third now. Here they come. On the inside is the Atlas van line. Steve Reynolds in the Verdelco in lane 2 in second place. Right now up there in front ahead of the Atlas, holding around the turn. Good race between Hanauer and the Verdelco. The leader right now, Bill Muncy. We have one boat that has gone dead in the water down on the south turn. We'll get to it in a moment. It is Steve Reynolds. Steve Reynolds has gone dead in the water. Also the Executone. We have a boat sinking. They've got to get him out. It's George Johnson. George Johnson in the Executone. The Pay and Pack as well. It's dead in the water. It is still floating. I don't see John Walters at this point. George Johnson. They stopped the race. Steve Reynolds is out of the boat. The Executone is under. The Pay and Pack is stopped. Obviously a collision somewhere in that south turn. Walters was way back. There is George Johnson on the right.
Don is in the water.
Mike and Rod, help me if you can see from your vantage point. Lou Gellos.
Okay, Don, what has happened right in front of where the Atlas is and the Budweiser pier is, there was one of the boats flipped. I could not tell which one did. It went sideways in the water and turned end over end. Another boat came up and may have hit the boat that had just flipped. And Chip Hanauer's coming in right now. He's coming into the other side of the pier here, and he was right involved with that, and I think narrowly missed also becoming involved in this collision.
They're all right.
The drivers are okay? Good, good. That's what I'm hearing somebody say here.
Yeah, Lou, that's John Walters next to the stern of his boat. He just waved. He's holding himself up. I mean, I don't know whether he's injured or he's not, but he's okay. He's conscious. He's waving. He's looking into the shore, and he's holding on to his race boat. The question is George Johnson, whom we saw over the bow of his own race boat. He is in the water. There he is.
The Executone, we must emphasize, has gone under. It has sunk. Both drivers are okay. There is George Johnson as one of the divers goes in now to bail him out.
We do not have a helicopter this year, as you know, Don, and so the rescue is slower, obviously, than it might otherwise have been.
I did not see it on our camera picture from here. It was outside the camera shot. Did you see it at all, Mike?
We were able to see that the Executone and the Pay and Pack collided. The Pack came in a little bit later than the Executone. The Executone was the boat that began the flip. The Pay and Pack then struck the disabled Executone. You see the Pay and Pack's tail fin, the horizontal stabilizer floating there.
Here he is.
And they are attempting to rescue George Johnson.
I'm with Tom Deeth at the Squire Shop camp. Tom, where were you when this all happened?
Well, I was in between the Budweiser and the Executone going to the first turn, and it appeared that the Executone got airborne and then hit real hard on the right side, and it looked for a minute like he almost barrel rolled it right in front of me. And when the boat stood up on its side, it actually was tracking right in front of mine. So I had to make a hard left-hand turn to avoid from hitting him. Got mine pretty much going left and out of the direction. Then his boat landed back on the water, and it actually appeared to me like it was almost, you know, heading down the backstretch way. In other words, it was totally aiming the wrong way, and it was aiming right for me. So I cranked it hard to the left again, looked over my shoulder. I didn't see anybody on my left. And he ran into the side of me as I was trying to avoid his boat from hitting mine. Everything happened in about, I guess a second or two, so there was a lot of excitement in my cockpit anyway for a while, because it appeared to me that my only alternative was to go right through the bottom of his at one point. Fortunately, I was able to get it turned and slowed down enough to where it gave me some more time to react. After the impact, I got to the infield, and I saw the orange and white parts flying, and I knew which boat that was, and I just hope that everybody's all right.
And what kind of damage is there to your boat here, then?
The whole right side of our sponson is gone, so we're done for the day.
How fast were you going when this was happening?
Well, I was accelerating, and I would have guessed that I was probably running about 145 to 150 when I noticed the Executone sideways in front of me. so he was going much faster than I was.
Thank you.
They're just beginning to go into the first turn at the beginning of the race. On the far right side is the Executone. We will switch to a different camera now on the far left. Suddenly goes sideways. That is the Squire Shop. To his immediate left, George Johnson's immediate left in the Executone. Tom Death driving the Squire Shop. He had to quickly turn left, that being the Squire. It still banged up his right sponson very badly, ripping out the bottom of it. The Executone going sideways and eventually began to sink and did sink. George Johnson, however, seems to be all right. But there you can see where it did have contact with the Squire Shop. Another look at it. This from the pit area. The Budweiser going by. This is where the Executone suddenly turned sideways. The Squire Shop there hitting the Executone as it went sideways. Suddenly, George Johnson says he thinks he might have hit a hole. There's the pack going by, running into the debris. And we have told you the results of that accident. Let's go to Dick Klinger.
Keith just visited Harborview Medical Center and saw both George Johnson and John Walters in the emergency room. Tell us about John, would you?
Well, basically what the problems are that John has is he has a fracture in his elbow that has to be, they have to perform surgery to fix that. He also has a fracture on one of his legs. It's a straight break, and it'll have to be pinned. They'll have to perform surgery to fix that.
When will they do that?
Well, that seems to be the point where they're at a hold right now. They're, I guess, from the terminology that I heard, they have to check the oxygen content in your blood. If they feel that that is all normal, then they can perform the surgery. But they're keeping a close watch on John. He does have a bruise that they found after further x-rays on one of his lungs. He also has a compression fracture of one of the vertebrae. But it's, from what the doctor was explaining, it's not distorted or anything. He has movement in his legs. He's conscious. He has feeling, but and he also has an impact bruise from the helmet, more than likely, on his eye, and it's swollen up quite badly. The ophthalmologist has been looking at it, and he can see out of it, but it's blurred.
Did you have an opportunity to talk with him?
I was in the room with John, and he, believe me, he really couldn't talk to anybody. We made eye contact. He acknowledged that I was there. He is fully conscious and aware of what's going on. I was with his wife, Arlene. She has been with him for the full time, so has Dave Herensberger and crew chief Jim Lucero.
Excuse me, one important question here. What caused that accident?
Well, actually, what caused it was a boat totally got out of control on the front straightaway. It got into this area where we have tricky water and wind conditions. It appeared that George lost control of the boat. It chined in. For a moment, I thought it was going to barrel roll. It got sideways. He was about 3 boat lengths outside of me, in front of me. Instead of barrel rolling, it just shot right in front of me. Then I started looking at nothing but a bottom of an unlimited hydroplane, and I was converging on it rather quickly. So the only thing I could do was to try and decelerate, take evasive action, and move hard to the left to get away from it.
Was it mechanical error or driver error?
No, I would have to say it was driver error.
Which driver?
George Johnson. He was going way too fast for the water conditions. I saw everything on the boat, totally. The skid pin, the prop, the rudder, everything was there. When the boat finally did land, I had my boat turned enough to where I thought that I was out of danger, and I was no longer on a collision course with George, and I was actually heading toward the infield of the race course at this point. George kind of flopped back in the cockpit, and somehow or another his boat turned again and chined on its right side, and then just accelerated right toward mine, and a collision occurred, an impact occurred on our right side.